What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the channel. My name is Jacob Scott. Thank you so much for stopping by. Today I want to make a video talking about how I go about shooting my product B-roll, whether it's, how I go about lighting it, camera equipment that I'm using, camera settings that I'm using, all that good stuff. So without any further ado, let's get right into this video. Alright, so first let's talk about camera gear. The body that I'm using is the Sony a7 III. Honestly, I don't think the body matters a whole ton. What I think does matter a lot more is the camera lens. Now, what I prefer to shoot with is something around 50 to 70 millimeters. You may ask, why do you prefer 50 to 70 millimeters around that range? The reason that I like it is seeing that it's a little bit longer, I can pick out details of a product because I can get a little bit closer on certain things, certain details of product. Not to mention, with a 50 to 70 millimeter camera lens or even longer, it makes really nice compression, which I find makes your footage look even more cinematic. Now, to achieve, the camera movement that I'm getting, I'm actually using a tripod. Now, you may be like, tripod's what you use when you want still footage. So what I do is I actually put a sock under each leg of the tripod. I actually did a whole video about this right up here, but I put a sock under each leg of the tripod so that way on my hard floors, I can easily slide it across the floors and get really smooth shots. Not to mention my tripod has a video head on top, so if I slide it across the floor and move the video head, I can get some really cinematic looking footage and really smooth footage. All right, so alongside the sock technique, I'm also using a technique where you just set the tripod in 2 legs and lean it in and out. So that's a really cool one to use, and it looks a little something like this. All right, so we got our camera gear, we got our tripod with socks under it. Let's talk about how to light these. Now, pretty much when I go about lighting products, I pretty much use 2 different lighting setups for the most part. Sometimes I'll change it up a little bit. For the most part, I start with these 2 lighting setups. Now, the first one consists of 1 light. Now, the light that I'm using, I've already talked about it in previous videos, is the Godox SL60W. That doesn't matter, but what does matter is I'm using a big softbox on the front of it. So, with this, you're gonna want a soft light. Now, what I'm doing is I'm just putting this light directly above the product that I'm shooting, and that's the only light lighting the scene. Now, what this does is this helps create a lot of contrast on whatever the product is. Depending on if it's too small, it's not gonna have a ton of contrast, but if it's a larger product, it is actually gonna create a lot of contrast on the sides and stuff like that, and it gives it a really nice punchy look. All right, so let's talk about the second lighting setup and the one that I probably use most of the time. Now, the first light that I'm gonna be using in this, again, is the Godox softbox. Keep in mind, you don't have to use this light, you just want a soft source of light. And the second light that I'm gonna be using is actually a LED panel. And keep in mind, again, you don't have to use this light. This one is just a little bit harsher light, not as soft, and it does have an orange filter on the front. So what you're gonna do to set this up is you're gonna take your main key light, the big soft source of light that you're using, and I usually set this about 3 feet or so above the product that I'm shooting and have it pointed down on it. And then I'm gonna take the second LED light that I'm using, and I'm gonna place that behind the product and to the side a little bit. So what that second light is gonna do is it's just gonna create a nice little rim light on it, a nice little kicker light, whatever you wanna call it. And that light, if you remember, I had a orange gel on it, so it makes some nice color contrast on the product that you're shooting. So keep in mind, whenever you're shooting most products, having some contrast in it, whether it's just contrast between light and dark or colors, tends to help make things look more cinematic. So this is probably the lighting setup, like I said, that I use the most, and I find that it works pretty well for a lot of products. All right, so we're pretty much nearing the end now. I just want to talk one more thing about the settings that I use. Normally, I'm able to get such smooth footage with the tripod that I can shoot with my camera at 24 frames a second. Now, something cool you can do, though, is shoot at 120 frames per second slow motion and speed ramp in Premiere Pro. Now, if you don't know how to speed ramp, just look it up on YouTube. There's tons of videos on how to speed ramp, but that would just look like this. But that is pretty much it for this one. Really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, feel free to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button down below. It really does help. Also, this video came because someone in my comments asked me, could you make this video? So I did. So feel free to, if you have any video ideas that you'd like to see, drop them in the comments below. I will try and get to them. And that's pretty much it for this one. I'll see you later.